Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Real Talk with Ben podcast. Hope you're having an amazing day. Hope you're having an amazing week. Even if you're listening to this years in the future or months in the future, still hope you're having an amazing day. And if you're new, my name is Ben, and this is my podcast where I talk about life. I talk about ministry. I talk about what life is like here in Hungary. Ultimately, I hope you leave this episode of the podcast with a little more encouragement, maybe some new knowledge on something. Ultimately, just have a great time and glorify Christ while I do it. So once again, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you'll stick in for the future as well. But today I wanted to talk about something that I think we all go through. I think we all hit it. It hits us at some point in our life. And I think that would be feeling alone. Now, when I say that, this could mean many different things for many different people. And especially coming off Valentine's Day this past, Sunday, there could be a lot of different loneliness and feeling alone because of that as well. So I kind of wanted to cover all three things, three ways that I at least felt lonely, and maybe that you have as well. And these can all range from a relationship or being single to a tough situation, to even a job, to a place you live. I mean, pretty much anything you can think of can make you feel lonely or have the effect of loneliness. And I wanted to share a little bit about, a little bit of my story and the reason why this is a very interesting topic for myself. And I also want to be able to share some encouragement, and hopefully that you can leave this with maybe a new mindset of how you can fight that loneliness. Maybe admit that you are lonely. That's the hardest thing, I think, sometimes. And so there's three different things, three different times. And I think that there are three different times that I think we all relate to. And I hope that I can share a little bit of knowledge behind each one, and then ultimately maybe share how I got through it, / maybe some encouragement for you as well. And I think I guess the reason why I really want to talk about this is because I think during this past year of COVID-19 and dealing with that and dealing with everything that we've all had to go through, we sometimes can't sit back and really truly understand what we're feeling. And I believe that feelings can be a great thing to understand how we deal with certain situations, and things like that. And so the first time that I really felt alone, and these are going to get a little personal for myself, and so bear with me if I start being my emotional self that I tend to be sometimes. But the first one was my grandfather. If you listen to an episode way back in way back in October, when I think right on October 16th, I talked about it's been 3 years since Grandpa passed away. Now, for some, this one can vary because maybe you didn't have a great relationship with your grandparents, or maybe you can put your mother or father in this or whatever. And then maybe for some, they had a great relationship. And I'm not trying to say what you had or anything like that. I'm just trying to explain how I felt alone, and maybe somehow you can relate to this. And I remember the day that he passed away. I remember the day that I found out. And I know I've shared this story before, so I'm not going to share too much into it, but I remember my dad calling me. I think I just had finished chapel or something at Cedarville, and I was in my room getting ready, and I remember getting a phone call from Dad, and telling me that that grandpa's not with us anymore. And I remember that feeling. Like it was yesterday. My heart felt like it wasn't there. It sunk. And it was like I had lost part of me. I remember for the next few days, even hours and then days, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I never even wanted to have a conversation about it. And I think this is because of two factors. One, over the last few years of my grandfather's life, I got a lot closer with him. He really became like a second father, someone I could talk to, look up to. And so that was a part of it. Why I was feeling alone, that someone that had really just always been a guy that I could count on for advice or a conversation was no longer there. But on top of that, I had regret and frustration at myself because I wasted so many years prior, never listened to my parents. Now, I felt alone. I felt hurt. And you might be sitting there and you might be thinking, how can I relate to this? Maybe it's not a grandfather or a grandmother. Maybe it's a father. Maybe it's a mother. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a close classmate. Whatever it is, or I mean, whoever it is, you feel alone. Whether you want to admit to it or not, there's moments where you feel alone. You feel like part of you is missing and you just ache. And you want to know, how can you change? How can you find a way to get through it? For me, I normally wear them. Oh, I think they're behind me, but it wouldn't matter if you're listening anyways. But I made these dog tags that kind of had different things on them that represented what my grandfather felt to me represented. And one of the things I wrote on there is faith, family, farming. And that kind of represented my grandfather. And it's kind of the man he was. But if you pay attention, you notice that my channel is faith, family, fun. Because my grandfather will always live on with me. I want to carry on the things he taught me, the message he gave me. And I think that's how I think I've gotten through feeling alone when it comes to my grandfather, or when it comes to, feeling that loneliness. That first year was really hard, and there was many long nights, many sleepless nights. And if you're asking me for a piece of advice, I don't know if I can give you one. I don't know if I have that piece of advice that says, hey, this is how you get through it. What I can tell you is that it is normal to be alone and feel alone through a tough time like that. But I guess I decided, and the one piece of advice I can give you is, I guess I decided not to dwell on the fact that that person's not there anymore, but the fact that I can carry on what their message has always been to myself or to others. And one thing I just remember, my grandpa told me once when we were in the barn and I was working and I made some stupid choices by waiting too long to scoop manure and it was really cold. I remember him looking at me and saying that failure is the greatest teacher because you can only learn from when you fail. Failure is the greatest teacher because you can only learn from when you fail. And I've taken that so many times and I've tried to live that way. It's trying to work from the things that I struggle at and to grow from them. So that's what I would challenge you with, that if you're struggling, feeling alone because of a person that is no longer with us, or maybe it's not even that they passed away, maybe they've moved away, maybe you're feeling alone from that certain individual, do what you can to have conversations with them. If they have passed away, live on that legacy. And I know you're like, Ben, aren't you going to give us a verse? I'm going to do that at the end to kind of cover all three. But that's kind of the first thing that I struggled with. The second thing is singleness. Now, this is probably the reason why this whole thing came up, was because I was thinking about, this was the first Valentine's Day that I've had in a long time, in a few years, and the best one ever with my fiance, spending time. It was a very weird Valentine's Day. That is a story for another podcast that I'm sure I will share one day. That was just a very interesting Valentine's Day, to say the least. But besides that, I wanted to talk about this because I know there's so many people out there, and I was one of them about a year ago. Yeah, a year ago, and even 7, 8 months ago. No, 9 months ago, I was still single, and the singleness struggle is huge. It's real. It's something that I think plagues a lot of people. I think it's something that it can eat at you. I remember after I graduated, I was single, thinking I'm never going to meet anybody to marry, and I'm never going to, I had so many bad relationships. I had so many bad choices, and I started to realize that God was trying to tell me, "Hey, buddy, you ain't ready yet." And that was probably a good thing for me. And I struggled with being single. I really did. But I remember it was after my senior year of college, and I was working, or the end of my senior year of college. I was getting ready to work and everything like that. And I remember my mentor at the time. He's still my mentor, but at the time he told me um, that maybe this is time for you to look at the rest of your life. What are you working on? What are you working through? What do you need to change in order to make yourself a better man of God? So you're ready when that special person is in your life. Now, I kind of thought that I was like, oh well, yeah, but all my friends are getting married, or they're either married or they're getting married. And I just want that. And I desired that. But he was right. And for the next year and a half, 2 years, I truly was, about a year and a half, I was truly trying to be a better person, but not just a better person, but a better man of God. I realized there were things I was struggling with internally, things I was struggling with in my own spiritual walk, that I was not ready to say, "Hey, I'm going to lead." And even now, there are times where Rebecca and I are talking, and I realize that there are things I need to get better at. I'm not saying that you fix everything and then you find somebody. But feeling alone is, well, it is normal. It's hard. I'm not trying to say it's not. But if you are single right now and you are struggling with wanting that desire of, I want somebody in my life. I want somebody that I can do life with. And I get you. I was there. I get you. And it's hard. But take a step back. Maybe look at your life and say, God, shape me. God, mold me. Make me in the man or woman that you want me to be, so that when that person comes, I am ready. I know you might be saying, like, "Ben, that's a lot harder than it looks." You're right. It takes patience. It takes courage. You might be asking, how can you do that? I would suggest finding someone that you can just talk to, that you can lean into, that you can trust, that can keep you accountable. Lauren Kuhn was that for me. He still is. But even before we had that conversation, leading up to that, when I was still maybe not having the greatest choices in relationship, he was still trying to help me see this. And I'm so grateful for that. So that's feeling loneliness, being single. Then there's this other thing of feeling lonely, and it's at a place or a location or place or a job, or I didn't really know how to put this last one. But for me, I talked about hungry. I talked about being away from home, being away from family. and not just specifically Hungary, but during COVID. You see, we all make transitions in life. We all move away from home. We all get new jobs. We have to grow up. We move out, um, and it's normal, right? It's normal. But I can tell you this, that uh, in May, in March, end of March, when COVID hit here in Hungary, in April and May, I was in a place that I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought about getting on a plane and going home. Thought about going home because I felt like there was nothing here for me, because everything that I wanted there to be was not there. And I missed my family. And I felt like I was all alone, that there was nothing here for me. Now, I'm not going to tell you that it was all happy. I think I did back then. I probably made some podcasts and episodes. You might have thought I was all happy, but inside I wasn't. I was hurting. I missed my family. I missed my mom's hugs. I missed my dad's goofiness. I missed just talking with my brother. I missed going up to see Grandpa's gravesite, having a chat with a root beer, or just sitting and chatting. I missed talking with my grandma. You see, I felt alone because of the impact people have had on me. And when I was thrown into an unknown situation, I was relying on what I was missing and what I was wanting, because I was already planning on what I had planned in my head of what Hungary was going to be like. Now, I knew I was going to miss my family at some point. I knew it was going to be tough. In fact, I knew there was a good chance that it was going to be a couple tough months, maybe here or there. I really say that I didn't really get over that loneliness until probably about the middle of June, when camp getting ready to start. And I think once we started getting back to normal for myself. But you see, missing home, it's funny how I will be leaving here and I will be missing home. See, I didn't realize what God was doing. God was going to allow me to learn about ministry in a different aspect. He was going to allow me to be in different roles. He was going to allow me to meet my future wife. You see, when we feel alone, it's a feeling of emptiness, scared, fear, so many emotions that go with it. But we're not actually alone. We never were. I was never alone when I was single, never alone when I've been here. I was never alone when Grandpa passed away. But because in my mind, I wanted these people to be there, or these things, or whatever might be the case, I was feeling alone, and that knowing was there. But in fact, every moment that each of us feels alone, God is there, and God is prevalent, and God will always be there. I've been reminded of that daily. Yeah, I miss my mom. Yeah, I miss my dad. I miss my brother. I miss having conversations with my grandfather. And I'm going to miss being away from my home here in Hungary and away from my fiance. But I am never alone. And you are never alone. No matter what we go through in this world, no matter what governments try to do to our to our lives, no matter what laws or things are put in place, no matter what this disease of COVID-19 does to our lives, it does not matter because our Lord says, I am God. He is in control. He has never left you. He never will. And when I think about being alone, I think about, so many times I would hear in church so many different Bible verses, and one thing that came to mind, and a verse that I remember hearing so many different times, and it's Joshua 1:9. I'm going to read it for you because this verse has really been a solid reminder over these times of loneliness. So let me read it to you. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous, do not be frightened, and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Friends, God is there. No matter what happens to us, no matter how far we walk away from him, and I've been there a couple times, he is there to reach out his hand and say, come home. So when you have to lay down a family member because they've passed away, or when you feel lonely because you spent another Valentine's Day by yourself, or you feel like you're never going to find that person, or maybe you're in a place or at a job that you just miss home. Friends, our home is in heaven. We're just here for a little bit. I think back to what one of the last conversations I had with my grandfather. It's about a week before he passed away. He grabbed my hand and he said, Ben, I want you to never give up on the truth in this world. Never give up on the truth in this world. And I didn't understand what he meant at that time, but I do now. The truth is in the gospel. The truth is in what we believe. And if we choose to believe in truth, the truth of the Bible within our life, we will be living our lives the way we're supposed to. I think he was right when he told me that failure is the best teacher. You learn from when we fail. We all have failed. We've all fallen short. But there is one person that has never failed, and that is Jesus Christ. And he died on the cross for you and for me. And if you don't know that gift, then take this opportunity to just open your arms and say, God, I want to come home. I'm tired of being alone. Because he will always be there. Remember that God is always there in the good. He's always there in the bad. We serve an amazing God, and we truly, truly need to remember that, even when we are alone. Well, I hope that you've gotten some encouragement from today. It was a heavier thing than I normally talk about, but I just really wanted to express that to you all. So if you have loved today's episode, if you've loved even the last few episodes, go ahead and make sure that you are subscribed either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That way it keeps it up on the front of your page. So every time you log in, you see a new episode that comes up every Thursday. And if you're listening, I always say listening. If you're listening and watching on YouTube, you hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and that'll allow you to see everything that is happening here on the channel. We just put up an awesome new video. What was it? Yesterday on Wednesday of me speaking Hungarian. Got to go check that out. So you can definitely check those out by keeping tabs on what's going on the channel and seeing what is happening every single week. So once again, I want to remind you of this, that we serve an amazing God, that he is faithful. We can trust him. And as always, we'll talk next time.